toy.
We're wanted men.
I have spoken.
Welcome to another edition of the Smuggler's Galaxy podcast. This is episode number 12, live from the Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk. Celebrating Life Day is Jason Wasoko. Jason, how's it going down there?
Good. I got my red robe on. Chewbacca's hanging from the trees. We're celebrating here. We're having a party.
Awesome. Cool. How's your week going so far?
So far, so good. I got a couple pieces that I'm excited to talk about. I did pick up the Holiday Edition Range Trooper. We forgot to talk about that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, how are you enjoying that? The more I see of them, the more up close stuff I see of those. I haven't seen one in person yet, but I'm noticing they're doing the holiday sweater things on them. So it's kind of freaking winning me over on those things. How are you liking yours?
I picked up this one because I thought it was the least offensive. It's the Range Trooper, but he's got the deco to look like Santa Claus.
Uh-huh.
So all of the furry parts of his costume's white, but then the rest of it is red. And it comes with Dio, who looks like Rudolph. They painted him brown with a red nose. So I thought this one was cute. I don't know if I necessarily need all of them. I think like the green color, the neon green, is a little offensive on a Stormtrooper. I just don't think it works. The red's more subdued, and that's why I didn't mind with this Range Trooper.
Yeah, I think like you said, the colors are they're too damn bright.
Too damn bright. The only other thing I picked up this week, my Hasbro Pulse orders came in for Cad Bane and the Armorer Black Series.
Were you able to get the upgraded armor, or did you just get the standard version?
I got both. Slowly lowers head.
Dude, I can't blame you because I'm the same way. Because, when Thrawn came out, I got the standard version and then eventually picked up the Comic-Con version. So, yeah.
Well, you see, I didn't get that, and I regret it. And so now I'm like, I'm going to get both and put my head down and enjoy my shame.
There you go.
How about you? Did you pick up anything? Anything special in particular?
I don't know what you're talking about. I did. This is the... yeah, this is a really, really, really awesome story.
Start from the beginning. Like, how did you get into this specific focus?
A couple of years ago up at ICC in Nashville, there's a guy named Anthony is big into the pre-production stuff. And he brought just a big tote. I probably 30 or 40 totes. I don't know. It was just an insane amount of stuff and for sale. And I'm just going through it, and I open a tote, and there's a Ghost sitting there, which is the ship from Rebels. And everybody knows how much I love that show. I just picked it up. I didn't know what it was. All I knew was it was a Ghost. So I bought it, and then you start doing research on it. And come to find out, it was a Galactic Heroes first shot Ghost. First shots means it was the first one out of the mold and pre-production piece. I was able to pick up the production version with the Ezra and the Chopper. The more you research, the more you realize, well, they made a whole run of them. They made the whole crew with a Inquisitor. Mm-hmm. And the Inquisitor and the Kanan, they made it in production, and they're hard to find, but I found one at Toylanta right after that. And then you realize that there's a Zeb, a Hera, and a Sabine, and those never made it into production. And then they also made a Phantom, which was packaged with Hera. That whole run was, I got to give everybody props that helped me out, because I'd get a message, one day from somebody, hey, there's a Zeb on eBay, and I went and picked that up. And then the next, I'm looking for Sabine. One day there was a couple that pop up on eBay, and I get a message saying, hey, they're on eBay. And I was able to pick Sabine up earlier this year, painted painted first shot of her that left Hera, which I never thought I'd be able to find, because Sabine I thought was hard enough, and Hera I thought was going to be impossible. because she just never popped up. Zeb pops up. They also made an Ezra one, but I don't want to say they're a dime a dozen, but they're probably hundreds of the Ezra out where there's tens of the other guys out.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, I picked up Zeb and I picked up Sabine because Sabine had popped up like a year or two before, so I knew she was out there, but there'd never been a Hera pop up. There was a Hera popped up earlier this month, and the guy was wanting an insane amount of money for it. And so I'd watched it. Yeah, I'd made a couple of offers on it, and they were all shot down. I messaged one of my buddies named David, and I'm like, hey, he does pre-production stuff too. And I'm like, hey, is this legit? Look over these pictures, because he's helped me out before with some of this stuff, and he knows pre-production. And he looked it over and said, yeah, it's legit, but you're crazy to pay that price for it. And I said, no, I'm not going to pay that price for it, but I want to know, and I'm going to watch it. And if it ever drops down, I'll pick it up.
Yeah.
And in that process, he goes, well, how about I make your night right now? And I'm like, what do you mean? At that moment, he sends me a picture of a first shot Hera in Galactic Heroes. Yeah.
Did he have it, or
he had it in his possession?
Wow.
And he said, when I picked this up, it was meant to be in your collection. I picked this up for your collection because I know how much it means to you and how much you've been searching for this. And I'm trying not to get emotional right now thinking about it.
No, I'm getting chills, and I'm getting a little misty-eyed from the story. I mean, that's just very, very touching and very special.
It is. And he called me, and I picked it up on my computer, so it was on speakerphone. And my wife's kind of hearing what's going on, because she knew she had seen the Hera piece and was like, buy it. And then she saw how much it was and was like, no, you can't have it for that, because it was in the $800 range. And
you can't have that and a wife.
Exactly. You can't have both. So she kind of heard what was going on, and she comes in the room and is like, what are you talking about? And then I show her the picture on my phone, and she gets teary-eyed, just realizing what's happening and realizing that just the specialness of the moment. I'm losing it, and it was just an incredible moment, and it meant the world to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, just to have that piece, that holy grail that you've been searching for so long, and to have it come with such meaningful connection with someone, I think is incredibly special. And I think that's going to be, like the centerpiece of your collection. Whether people gravitate to that or not, you're going to look at it and you're just going to be like, this is the most important, special piece in my collection, which is a great story.
Just to know that he searched for that piece for me for the last 2 years. He was there when I bought the Ghost, and we talked about it. And then the next year when I went back to IC, we had talked a little bit more, and we were like, oh, you're the guy that got the Ghost. So we were able to catch up again. And this guy lives up in New Jersey. This is why I say make contacts with people and get to know the people around you, because we talked and we didn't really hang out a whole lot, but we hung out just enough to where he knew what I was into. Yeah. And we were able to be friends on Facebook and cultivate that friendship to where he's looking for a piece for me that I've been looking for 2 years.
Yeah.
And just to know that he looked for that piece for me for 2 years, it blows my mind. And it's a really humbling experience to have that happen to you.
That's awesome.
And yeah, like you said, it's in my collection. If I need to pick me up, I'll just go look at that piece, and you've got the whole, everything that goes into it is just incredible. It's just, it's never going anywhere. It's locked in my shelf. And and he told me when we hung up, he goes, now we're on to the Phantom. So hopefully, knock on wood, we can find the Phantom one day.
That'd be great. That's an awesome, touching story. And there's no way I could top anything like that. That's great. Mm-hmm. And I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. It's definitely it's special on so many levels, because it completes a run I thought I'd never be able to complete. Brings that bond of friendship to the forefront.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Did you watch the Lego holiday special?
I have not watched it yet. Have you?
Yeah, I did. My son and I watched it this week. It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun.
I've seen the concept of it, but I haven't watched it yet. How long is it?
It's about 45 minutes, so it's not too long. It's long enough where it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a lot of fun. Like, I don't really get into the Lego Star Wars stuff too much, but this piece was fun, and it kind of had me right from the start because if you know The Mandalorian, it starts with the red and blue lights flashing around helmets. They kind of copied that, but it's all Lego form, so it's like a parody of that.
Nice.
So right out of the gate, I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is fun.
Now that I know it's only 45 minutes, I'll probably go watch it because I was scared it was going to be like an hour, hour and a half. And I don't know if I could stand that long of Legos.
No, it's good. It picks up pace. I don't want to spoil it because you haven't seen it, but as it goes, it picks up its pace. It becomes more fun. It's silly and ridiculous. It's something that could never happen in Star Wars, which is exactly why. And I think it's a lot like the Lego movie where, I don't know if you've seen that or not, but it's all about imagination and expressing yourself through imagination. And the twist is it's actually just a kid playing around in his basement. And this kind of feels like it's kids playing around with their Lego toys. It's not something that could actually happen in the Star Wars universe, but it's kind of got that same feel.
I saw enough of like the previews to where I know that some kind of way Rey gets this time traveling device, and so she's jumping around the whole everything, all 9 movies. So I'll probably watch it just for that, and even goes into The Mandalorian.
Yes, but don't. It's a blinker and miss it kind of cameo.
Oh, jeez.
He's there, but he's there for like 3 seconds. It's just long enough to be like, yeah, we've checked that box.
There's Baby Yoda.
Yep. Baby Yoda's there, the child. No macaroons, though.
Oh, jeez. That was... I need to get some macaroons for the next meetup. Whoever hosts the next meetup needs to have some macaroons just for
My
that.
wife makes macaroons, so I'm going to have to see if she can make some.
Oh, that'd be great.
The only thing is, macaroons are very, very tough to make. She's an excellent baker. I'm sure my macaroons will turn out crappy, but she's an excellent baker, and I would say she's hopefully not listening. It's kind of like a 50-50. Like, all the ingredients need to be handled correctly, and they have to be in the right order, and it's just a very intricate process to make them, and so we'll see if she can make me some blue ones.
I just won't throw up after I eat them.
Yeah. Don't go on a roller coaster.
That was so awesome. I did pick up a Hondo. I picked up, taking your advice. I found Hondo at Target the other day, and they're running a 25% off. It's probably gone by the time you hear this, but I picked him up for fairly cheap.
Was that the only one they had?
Yeah.
They didn't have 5s. I'm still looking for 5s.
Which one's 5s?
He's one of the clone troopers.
Oh, okay.
Single carded.
I'll pay attention.
Yeah, but that's all I picked up this week, and you've got the story to end all stories there with the Hera figure.
Yeah. It's a special piece because it's got. I mean, it's a true first shot, which makes it even better. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, Galaxy's Edge merchandise is coming out.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Dude, did you see? They've come out with new Boba Fett plush. They did one, a holiday special, and a regular one. I'm assuming the holiday special one is just for Life Day, or is going to be a very limited edition with the blue scheme to it versus the normal red and green.
That looks really good. I'm looking at it right now.
That's cool. And then they did a Thrawn wooden doll, which I need to pick both of those up because I don't know if they I don't know how to describe them, but they're not marionettes, but they've got like a metal body to them and then wood on the outside, and you can bend them and make them do crazy stuff. And that they made a Thrawn one, which damn it, I need everything Thrawn.
It's pretty close to a marionette. I mean, I picked up the Stormtrooper for my son the last time I went down there, and it's pretty close to that. It's got limited range. It doesn't fully move like a true marionette, but yeah, it's attached to a base, and you can move its arms, and it's all wireframe, so it does stand in that position, and it's tension wire. So yeah, but I see the Thrawn one. That's pretty cool that they made that.
Yeah, they've got a decent amount of Thrawn stuff down there, and Rebels both, because they also have the I can't pronounce it right, but that thing that Hera has that is for her family. But whatever that statue is, they've got that, and they actually put it. They've got the piece with Kanan on it. So after I saw Rebels, and I did a quick scan of it at when I did my second rewatch of Rebels, I did a quick scan of that and to Galaxy's Edge, and then to see that they put that piece on there for Kanan, I was like, now I got to go buy that thing.
Yeah. They also have new 3.75-inch droids, or at least that scale. They're not all that size because they had a new BB unit, a 4-LOM, but it's got unique packaging, which I kind of like that it's different from what Hasbro's doing. And I don't think these are Hasbro figures. I think these are figures that Disney's making. The other thing that I thought was really cool, so right outside the Droid Depot, there's about 5 droids that are kind of positioned outside. There's a yellow droid that you kind of see in The Force Awakens. There's the I don't know what, it's a tall, like dark green droid that's, and Luke, the Lars Homestead, a couple R units, but it's a box pack of 5 figures that they're selling together, which I think I want to pick up.
What's cool about that is if you while you're in Galaxy's Edge, if you download the app on your phone, the Disney Play app on your phone, you can make those droids do stuff. So that's kind of cool, a cool feature throughout the whole land of Galaxy's Edge.
The $100 ones, right?
No, the droids that are just sitting there, right outside the Droid Depot.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm on board. I know what you're talking about.
Well, the droids do that. The $100 droids, when you're walking through Galaxy's Edge, they do either Bluetooth or do something. You're walking through, and if you're close to droids, there's some kind of frequency that they send out that your droid will start going crazy, it's fun.
Yes. Sorry, I'm in the water here with Chewbacca on Kashyyyk, so a little distracted. But I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, they also did that droid from Resistance. Did they do a full size or a bigger droid from him, the CB-23?
I think it's just the red droid right now.
Okay, gotcha. I know I saw some with the droid from Resistance, but I don't know what scale they made them in. And they also did a X-Wing pilot helmet.
Yep.
And they've also made some more Legacy Sabers available on Shop Disney. I think they did the Luke and maybe a Rey and the Ben. But what Disney's doing on both coasts, it's kind of cool. In their downtown areas, they've made shops to where you can go buy the Galaxy's Edge stuff without having to go into Galaxy's Edge.
Right.
Which, it's good on Disney because they're able to profit on it and make up some money from
COVID
that they've lost over this pandemic. Because I think I heard they lost like $4 billion or a couple of billion over this whole time.
I mean, when you don't have your $1 billion earners, like I'm sure Black Widow would have been, Mulan would probably have been more than it made. They don't have that revenue stream anymore, and so they need to make it up somewhere else.
It's a smart move on their part.
It kind of breaks the illusion that everything you buy can only be bought on Bet2, but at the end of the day, how far are you going to suspend your disbelief? It's Disney. You're going into a theme park. You're not taking a transport, So what difference does it make where you buy it? I
agree with that. It is kind of a bummer that you can buy it outside of the park now. This whole 2020 sucks, so they've got to do what they got to do to keep the business moving. So I can't really blame them.
Yeah, 2020.
I don't think they've done the mugs from Oga's yet. I don't think you can get those outside of the park yet. So at least you got something.
Yeah, at least there's some exclusivity going on still. They're preserving that.
And speaking of Disney, I was a little upset because I really needed some Disney magic the other day, and I walked into Town Center Mall in Kennesaw near us, and they'd closed the Disney store down.
What?
Yeah. I went to look for the new Boba Fett. They did a Boba Fett, the toy box that's exclusive to Disney, that line of figures. They did him with the Slave One, so I wanted to put my hands on it, and I walked into the mall, and the Disney store was closed.
Hold on, that's a game changer in my life. Hold on. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we went to that mall was because the Disney store and then Pink Geek's right down there.
It was fighting back tears because
oh gosh,
after they had started opening things back up, I went in there just to kind of get that little bit of Disney magic, and I wanted to see if it would work, and it worked because it's not much, but it's just enough to take the edge off. That store was closed. It was because I did the same thing you did. I have a run. I parked by Joseph A. Banks. You walk in, you hit box lunch, and you go upstairs and you hit Think Geek, Disney Store. You run into Hot Topic real quick, and then you leave. So I can do that mall in an hour. I knew they were doing it. I knew they were closing stores around the country, but I had no clue they were closing that one.
So I think the closest one now is an hour away from us, and I think it's more populated. We try to get those Disney Store keys that they release every so often. My wife has a collection of those, and we kind of frame them. And we have a Disney room right next to our Star Wars room. It's just going to be more challenging now to get those keys. I mean, freaking COVID.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's over for good. They could open it up, I guess, maybe some other time down the road, but for now it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. There's nothing left in it. Not even freaking statues or anything. It's all gone.
Oh.
And pour one out for the Disney store.
Man, this podcast is filled with highs and lows.
Yes, it is.
This is a low.
Bringing it back to a high point, they did release Star Cruiser pics, at least what your rooms could look like.
Yeah, and those look like rooms in a Star Cruiser, which I thought was pretty cool. They have that Star Wars aesthetic. I don't know why I'm stuttering there, but yeah, it's got that Star Wars aesthetic. The only thing that I thought was weird was the windows. The initial concept art that they released had these giant windows that you can look out into space, and it's like that meme, what you expect and what you got this year, and it's always like something pathetic for what you got, and the screen looks like a 20-inch TV. Yeah, the window out to space is just this small little frame window. It's got, like the majority of the wall is wall, but then right in the middle it's a small little window that you can see out into space, but like I said, it's very small, which is disappointing.
You would think for what they're planning on charging for that they'd make a big window.
$3,000 per person for 3 nights. It's $1,000 a night.
I want to go so bad, but it's going to be, next year before it's open, and then you really want to let it stew for a couple of years, let them get their stuff together before you go. 2-3 years before I can even think of going.
And there's some great patents for this thing. They've got free range droids. Should be running around this ship, because I think it's less of a liability than it is out in the park where people might try to trip over it. There's less people, so there's more room for the droids to roam. There's patents for some sort of Jedi training where you're using your lightsaber and there's blasters coming out from the wall, and you need to use your lightsaber to dodge and block, just like you would see in the movies. So there's a lot of cool stuff. There's like a bar, which is more like a sit-down restaurant, but it is Universe, and I'm hoping that they'll have more people dressed as characters so that you're interacting with them, unlike Olga's Cantina, where it's just tourists.
It better be more what Galaxy's Edge was promised, how we were promised for Galaxy's Edge, where, you had the if you stunk at Smuggler's Run, they were going to apparently have a bounty hunter that would come after you, or when you went to pay for something, they would be like, Hondo's mad at you, or hey, nice lightsaber, or, they would keep track of you more. But they're not doing that right now.
What they say is you get your own clothes, so you look like you're in the Star Wars universe, but you're not dressed as a specific character. You fly down to Batuu with missions. So there's lots of doorways in Batuu that really don't go anywhere. You would think it's just for aesthetic, but, if you're running missions, maybe there's a secret room where you go in and you talk to someone and then you leave, and it kind of separates you from the tourists.
So I'm going to go back to Harry Potter World versus Galaxy's Edge. There's a secret path or something in Harry Potter World where you're like in a dark alley. It does feel like you're not supposed to be back in there. I wish they would have done something like that in Galaxy's Edge, where, you take a wrong turn and you're in a bad part of town. For $1,000 a night, this thing you better live, eat, and breathe and sleep Star Wars. You hear rumors that you can go down into the engine room, and it's going to be basically Westworld but Star Wars. Yeah, for $1,000 a night, I better freaking sweat Star Wars when I come out of there.
I better have an identity crisis when I leave. No, I'm Corellian. No, I'm from Corellia. No, I am. Because that's cruise price right there. It's all inclusive. I think you get meals, like you don't have to worry about paying for things, because I thought it was all inclusive. Don't quote me on that. I don't want anyone to expect.
Well, they haven't really even released prices yet. So
I thought it was $3,000 for 3 nights.
That's the rumor. It's just a rumor.
But
at that, it better be freaking all inclusive.
We can go back and forth between Harry Potter and Star Wars and how they dropped the ball. I mean, even to the point where Disney is considering not building a Galaxy's Edge in France. They're debating if they should make a more in-universe, like something we've actually seen, Hoth or Tatooine in Euro Disney.
Nice. That would be awesome.
It just won't be here.
Then I guess we got to go to Europe. But that's even going to be a smaller park than the ones here, because they're not going to put there's not going to be a Smuggler's Run or the Falcon, from what I understand.
COVID's really slowed everything down, because Universal was supposed to make Epic Universe, which is a new theme park in Orlando. If they're building a new theme park, would Disney respond with another one maybe about 10 years from now to attract people to come there? And if they did, Disney's kind of homogenized all their parks where some of the theming is still there, but some of it isn't. I mean, Hollywood Studios doesn't really feel like a movie studio anymore. It's more just a place where you can go and experience and live in movies with Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge. So what would this new park be? Is it just a homogenized park where there's Tatooine and there's Monsters, Inc.? It's all speculation, though.
Right, but that's another 10 to 15 years down the road once they recover from all this crap.
Yep.
I don't want to go off on Universal real quick, but they are releasing that Jurassic Park coaster next year, which looks insane. Rumor has it that they will release a Captain Cardinal helmet.
Yeah, it's a Target exclusive. That's confirmed. Yakface pulled it up.
Okay, awesome.
If you're into those Black Series helmets, there's a new one. It's the first order helmet, but it's just painted red for Captain Cardinal.
Who's a bad guy who turned good in the Black Spire Outpost book, and in Phasma, he's like Phasma's right-hand man in that book.
Did he appear in the show in Resistance?
I only watched the first season of Resistance.
No, so I've picked up a couple of the Resistant figures, and there is a red guy, but it's Major Von Reg. It's not Captain Cardinal. So I think the only appearance of Captain Cardinal is in that book. He might have appeared in the Phasma book, but I don't think he's actually appeared in any physical media yet.
See, there's another reason why Galaxy's Edge could have done even better. Had a red stormtrooper running around, or because that was sort of the rumor.
Yeah, I think Disney got a little scared because people are expecting familiar things, and if you start loading this world with, was it Vi?
Yeah.
She appears, but not many people are familiar with her. Not many people are familiar with Hondo. And so I think that's why they stuck to Rey, Chewbacca, Stormtroopers, and Kylo Ren, and they kind of nixed all of these new characters because this is as much as they can make it about. Again, the whole experience is supposed to be your Star Wars story, but people go there and they're like, I just want to be in the Star Wars story. So they added characters that people are familiar with. And so they've kind of cut out all that Cardinal stuff. And
I just wish they did the stunt show that they ran on opening day. That would have been awesome to see.
Yeah.
We can go back on a Galaxy's Edge. We're disappointed in it one day, but today's not that day.
We're in denial. Yeah, we'll stay in denial for a few more years, and maybe someday when the fog clears, we're like, maybe it's not as great as we thought it was. But
it's still fun. Still go, but lower your expectations.
It's fun. Don't listen to us.
As much as we hated it, we loved it just the same. So if you want to see grown men crying at the side of the Falcon, go to Galaxy's Edge. You can't take that away.
No, you can't. We've already said it. I've already documented it. There's no backing out from that one.
I cried like a little girl when I saw the Falcon. So
no, you cried like yourself.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
Let's get into The Mandalorian, because there's a lot of cool things and a lot of new questions that were brought up in this episode in the last 2 minutes.
Like they've been doing, they're throwing out little bits and nuggets and keeping us hooked.
It starts on the ship kind of limping through space, and the Mandalorian is trying to get the child to fix a piece of it. The child has crawling into a little crawl space, and he's got a blue wire and a red wire. He's unplugged the blue wire. He can't touch the wires because there was a magnetic field or something like that. There's a magnetic charge, and if they touch, they'll explode, and he's got to plug the red wire in. And so it's just him trying to, tell the child, red wire in, put the red wire in, don't touch him. Then he jams the blue wire in. He's like, no. So it's a lot of that back and forth, and it's just very cute.
Mando being a dad and Baby Yoda being a baby.
He's got all those cute noises, but they answer one of the questions you asked last week. How does the Mandalorian eat and drink?
So I saw that. I was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Just lift it up high enough to sip. But that means I guess you're just eating, drinking stuff or whatever.
Do you have any other questions you want answered next week?
Where's Ahsoka? Where's Sabine? Where's the Darksaber? Where's...
I think we're going to get that next week.
The rumor has it that, next week I think Ahsoka's going to pop up.
Next week is chapter 13, The Jedi. So unless it's Luke...
So it's been confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd they confirm? I'm just curious. Is it just out there?
I don't know. I guess I'm hearing it secondhand. I didn't speak to Dave Filoni.
Okay. So yes, if it says the Jedi, when that opening sequence opens up, you'll know. But then Ahsoka's not a Jedi, so
Yeah.
but they assume she's a Jedi.
Yeah, I guess she never really got her formal rank of Jedi, but she, for all intents and purposes, is pretty close. I mean, she took on Darth Vader, and most Jedis die, so I consider her more Jedi than a Jedi. But anyways, they cut to a black market in the old Mandalorian hideout underneath Navarro, where a bunch of walrus men are conducting their black market business.
I thought that scene was pretty cool, just to see 3 walrus men together, and you kind of see what happened to the cauldron after the Mandos left.
The Mandalorian, what is it? The mythosaur skull is removed, but you can still see the grime from where it was on the wall at one point. And then Marshal Dune, as she's known now, not Cara Dune, she's a marshal of Navarro. She comes in and kicks some ass. She cleans up the walrus men.
And then there's that cute fuzzy thing, whatever it is, that she ends up befriending that they were going to eat.
Yeah, and I'm considering that little guy to be known as Dank Ferret.
Yes, it's a dank ferret. Did you watch the ending credits?
No, I did, but I don't know if I realized.
On the concept art, that thing was supposed to breathe fire.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, they had it breathing fire on the concept art.
Wonder if that got cut because of budget or something. I don't know.
The budget is insane for this show. It could have breathed fire.
I don't know. Maybe it just didn't work for the story, but no, I didn't see. I'll have to go back and watch it a third time. But then the Mandalorian lands on Navarro, and there is Greef Karga and Cara Dune waiting for him, and he needs to repair his ship so he can continue on and find the Jedi.
Landing gears fighting to come out. Dock door comes open. It only opens so far, and he's got to hop down. And Cara Dune, they're just kind of laughing at him because
there's some panels on the side that are kind of vibrating as he lands, like they're going to fall off any second.
Yeah, it's in really, really bad shape. And I bet everybody who has that $350 on the Razor Crest was sitting there at that moment going, "Oh crap!"
But at the end of the episode, it looks more normal. At least the cockpit, it looks like it's the normal Razor Crest, and it's clean, and it looks like it was a good investment.
Yes. Which
then,
I got a feeling on that, but we'll when we get to that part, yeah.
And I have a prediction about how this season might end with a cliffhanger. We'll see.
Okay. Do you want to save it?
I'll save it to the end of this episode.
All right. Awesome.
But it's a wild theory. So anyways, of course, there's 2 people standing by Greef Karga and Cara Dune who will fix up the ship, and one guy kind of turns and sinisterly, I don't know if that's an adjective, I just made it one, looks at the camera, and I'm like, of course this guy's going to plant a tracking beacon. It's Star Wars.
The one thing you've learned about watching Star Wars, when somebody stares intently at somebody and they focus in on him staring intently at somebody, that dude's up to no good.
Right.
That species is one of the main characters in Star Wars Squadron.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so they're kind of bringing that together.
From a distance, I thought it was the same species as Maz Kanata, but I don't think that's the case.
No, this guy's got horns forming going down towards his nose, so it's a total different species than Maz.
Okay. Very cool. So there's some more interconnectivity in Star Wars there. But then they start walking through Navarro, and it's I hope I'm saying that right, because I keep saying Navarro like it's Dave Navarro from...
Is it Jane's Addiction or Soundgarden? I don't know.
Anyways, I hope it's Navarro. Anyways, IG-11's back there as a statue, as a monument for his bravery.
Now, did you see it the first go-round, or did you have to see it on the post?
I go to work, and I don't get to see it until I come home. And by the time I'm coming home to watch it, I've seen something on Facebook. Part of my job is social media management for my company, and I'm always spoiling it, and inadvertently for myself. It's just because it's part of my job. I can't prevent not being on Facebook. So I do see stuff, and I did see that IG-11 was back there. My son didn't see it, and he didn't know about it, so we had to stop and go back.
I didn't know about it the first watching, but the second watching, I knew about it, and you're paying attention to them walking into the school, so you don't even notice it unless you know it's back there.
Yeah, it's kind of, you have to be tipped to know that it's there. So I'm glad I did see that section of the post on Facebook, but yeah, then they go into a schoolhouse, which I thought was absolute. I love this scene for many reasons. There's a lot of Easter eggs here, I think, if I caught them right. Greef Karga is going to put the child in school for the afternoon, so the Mandalorian can help them with their overall mission, the story of this episode.
I have to laugh because you have this very highly sought after asset, as the Empire puts it, and you're just going to drop them in a school that's unguarded with a protocol droid?
Yeah, but I think it's a place where there's trust now, which wasn't there before. They've transformed this place to a welcoming, inviting environment, and I think that just shows part of that. And even the Mandalorian doesn't trust it. He's like, no, wherever I go, the child goes. And they're like, trust us. It's okay.
We've got business to discuss, and this little brat don't need to be there.
There's the protocol droid who also mentioned the Maelstrom. Did you pick that up?
No.
Yeah, when there's a shot where they're kind of like, there's the school board. The protocol droid turns and faces the school. She says something like, and the Maelstrom is in this section, which is from Solo. So that was an Easter egg. And then there's a little girl that was kind of laughing at the child, which, so my son and I thought she had the same hair as Rey. Now, we don't think this is Rey. It's obviously not Rey because there's another 25 years between this point and The Force Awakens, and I think Rey is 20, so I don't think she's a thing yet.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I don't think it's Rey. I get the timelines confused, and I just thought it was a homage to Rey.
Yes.
But maybe like the little girl had seen Rey or heard stories of Rey, but yeah, that my timeline's off. So yeah, it's definitely a Rey throwback.
No, I think it's just a hairstyle that, people of a lower class maybe, just throw their hair up like that. It's like a ponytail, I guess, maybe in the Star Wars universe.
Right, just like dang ferret's the new curse word.
And then this child is always thinking with his or her stomach, I guess we don't know for sure yet. There's cookies there, and the child wants the cookies. They're macaroons. There's the child with the macaroons. The little boy is like, no, this is mine. I'm not sharing. And so when the boy turns his head, the child uses the Force and grabs the cookies. And I sent a picture of the child eating a cookie, and my wife, who doesn't really watch the show, she's just like, oh my goodness, this guy can't be any more cuter. Now he's got a cookie.
Give me my damn cookie.
So suddenly I wanted my wife to make macaroons.
And if they're made right, they are very tasty.
Yeah, they are. She's made s'more ones before, and I love s'mores where she puts in graham cracker and a layer of chocolate. And I'll be right back. Hey, honey, can you make some macarons? That was a great scene.
Yeah.
And anything with the child is just, milk it, Disney, milk it, because that's your paycheck right there.
On Mando Monday, they're going to be releasing a pop with Baby Yoda eating macaroons.
For real? I might not be able to avoid that one. It'd be awesome if he was in the school chair, the desk, eating the cookie, just kind of looking up with the little crumbs on his robes, whatever you want to call it. That would be awesome.
And then the chase version could be him with vomit on his jacket. That make
with his hands up. Yes.
Oh shit.
That'd be awesome. And so they leave the child there, and they kind of take off to go talk business. And Mythrol, I don't know if that's a species or if that's his name. The blue guy from the first episode of the season 1. He's there. He's got some vision problems because he's been trapped in carbonite for a long time, but I love that he released gases out of his neck when he sees the Mandalorian. That was funny. Backing
up a minute, I've learned, at least on this season, when they jump back, when they're showing the previews and they jump back for like the 10 seconds into last season. Yeah. Pay attention to that, because that's a callback. So like this one, they showed the blue guy getting frozen in carbonite, and there he is in the episode.
So we're going to see like 2 minutes of Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels in the next episode?
I freaking hope so. That'd be awesome.
That would be cool. Yeah, so the goal of this episode is to rid the stormtroopers of a hidden base on the other side of the planet that the Empire is inhabited. It's supposed to be a skeletal crew, but there's a lot of black market material, a lot of guns and ships that valuable on the black market. So I think they want to destroy the place so they don't have smugglers and marauders coming in to steal that stuff and lessen the value and lessen the trust of what they've built on in their city.
Basically, it's like we've created this great little town, and there's an Imperial outpost on the other side of the planet that we want to take care of because we don't want the Empire here anymore, basically.
Right. And so the 4 of them have to go to the other side and overload a reactor because the reactor is based on lava. And so if they overload the reactor, the lava is going to increase in pressure and destroy the place. They don't really go into it. It's Star Wars. You don't need to know the science. That's basically what what they say. But Mythrol is like a C-3PO in this episode, where he's just the fearful every step they make. You know, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm going to drive back now. I've driven you in my speeder here, and you know we're good. I can go now.
Comic relief in this episode was him.
Played by Horatio Sands from SNL.
I have to look up and see who he is.
Yeah, he did a lot of stuff with Jimmy Fallon on SNL, and they were like a pair. It's good to see Horatio Sands, because I always love SNL and the players on that show, and I like to see them succeed. So it's good to see him on the show, I guess. They break in and they sneak in and they get to the reactor.
Wait, you missed an important part.
Yeah, I always do.
You always do, so I got to stop you.
Yeah, stop me.
You stop you. Wait a minute. What happens when they're trying to get to the thing and the Mythodol, whatever, the blue guy, is trying to cut into the controls?
What did I miss?
It was another dang ferret.
Oh yes, dang ferret. Yeah, another curse word.
Yeah,
right over it.
Kara kind of curses under her breath, and because he can't get through the connectors fast enough, because he's just, hey, this is rated for light plumbing. It's not rated for this kind of crap. Be glad I even brought it. And then Kara goes, dang ferret. And I had to rewatch it. I had to rewind it because you hear it and you're like, did I just hear what I thought I heard? So you rewind it and you're like, yep, there it is.
Yeah, so there it is. The Mandalorian blasts off and he kind of flies to the top of this. So they're down in a canyon. He flies up to the top of the canyon where the main part of the base is. There's a landing platform. And so he goes up there, and I think he's going to try to open the door from up there. But he kind of quickly realizes that there's not a skeletal crew at this place. This is a live base, that there's a lot of stormtroopers present.
The more they got into that base, the more you realize that there was a lot going on in there.
This is the thing about this show that I get a little frustrated with, is a lot of hallways. And mirrored hallways and hallways upon hallways. So I was a little afraid we were going to go there, but luckily there was only like 2 or 3 hallways. So it's not really a concern in this episode, which I was relieved. And when I see those hallways and hallways and hallways, I kind of feel like there's the budget issue and they've kind of, saved money by using the same hallway, but that didn't happen. So we don't have to worry about that. And I was happy with that. Then they go to the reactor and the Mythrol makes a joke like, I wrote it down here. There's no guardrails on this. He's just walking out, and he kind of acknowledged the fact that the Empire doesn't really care about the stormtroopers. If they fall, they fall. They have cut off one head, 2 more will take its place kind of mentality.
That's been my number one thing with Star Wars. It's like, can nobody invest in guardrails?
Well, it's the Empire. They don't care. They'll use the material to build a Star Destroyer or a Death Star. They won't use it to save the life of a stormtrooper.
I guess that's one way to think of it.
But then they do overload the reactor, and it starts to bubble up, and it's time to clear out. That's when the thing really picks up.
Yeah, everything picks up at that point.
So we find out that this place is not just any old Imperial base. This is a lab facility of some sort.
I guess they're clones in that wall there.
So I don't know if I'm what they call matrixing, seeing things that you kind of expect to see, but that first shot of a clone looks a lot like Snoke.
I tried pausing it and I didn't really see anything. You couldn't really see it, but
yeah, I don't know if, like I said, I'm seeing things. My brain is kind of filling in the blanks, but it looked a lot like Snoke, which would make sense if they're cloning Snoke and trying to put the Emperor in that body.
And that's not the first time. I think I've heard that a couple of different times. Somebody saying that he thought they saw Snoke in that vat or whatever.
And then we find out that, kind of going off the first season, what the Empire's doing behind the scenes, that so they brought up the M1 count in the blood. They want to give whatever they're working on a blood transfusion, and they want to use the child's blood because he's got the Force and he's got a high M1 count, which I think a lot of people are making the connection that's midichlorians.
Another theory was that the midichlorians was made such a big deal of in the prequels that they didn't want to say midichlorians because it had left a bad taste in people's mouths, and this time they just use M count.
Debating if I want to go down that tangent. I mean, the whole idea of midichlorians is that the Jedi have fallen away from what they're supposed to be. It's all data at that point. If you have a high midichlorian count, you're going to be a good Jedi. It's not about your potential. It's about your midichlorian count. They've kind of taken the spiritual out of it and they made it more physical. And that was the whole point behind the midichlorians, I thought. So they could have just used the midichlorian count. But I mean, when you're talking to like doctors, they're not going to say you have a high red blood cell. Well, they might, but there's like codes like HPC, like high, whatever, red blood, RBC, red blood count. So they would say you have a high RBC count or something like that. So M1 makes sense to me, but whatever.
So, and then at the end of that little thing, he goes, "I will not disappoint you again, Moff Gideon." Of course, the Mandalorian's like, Moff Gideon's dead.
It's old.
He's old. This is
It's
an
old
old
recording.
transmission.
Yeah.
Martha Gideon's dead. And at that point you realize, I guess, two things. He didn't hear anything Bo-Katan said about the Darksaber last episode. She never mentioned Moff Gideon by name either. So maybe he's just didn't put two and two together, hasn't put two and two together yet.
That's a good point, because we know we made the connections, but I guess the Mandalorian didn't.
Not care about who has this Darksaber.
The Empire's up to sinister things. They're doing some crazy cloning, and we'll get to the other part at the end here. They're doing more than just cloning. But this is the thing that I thought was really interesting and had me curious about what more is going on. Are they trying to clone Snoke? Are they trying to clone the Emperor? Are they using the child? I mean, they're obviously using the child to try to push that along.
They're at least using his blood to get it going. I don't think the way it sounds, at least in that transmission, is all they're doing is using his blood. They're not really doing anything else but, harvesting his blood to put in to transmit to those people or whatever the hell they're doing.
They don't necessarily want to kill the child, because if they do that, there goes their only bloodstream, I guess.
Right.
No pun intended. They don't want to lose that. They want to keep him alive to keep harvesting his blood. The second they realize that Moff Gideon is alive, the Mandalorian, he just takes off. He's like, I'm going to go get the child, leaving Greef Karga, Cara Dune, and the Mithril to kind of escape on their own.
And then there's more hallways.
Quickly, not a lot. I feel like I've said hallways too many times to express the amount of hallways that you see in some of these episodes. So then they steal an Imperial troop transport from the old Kenner days and from the last season of the show, and they make their escape through the canyon, which was an exciting scene.
It's when you finally see those speeder bikes chase after him, where they do that big jump. I did kind of like you get to see that one mix-up of the one speeder bike who hits something and takes him and another speeder bike out. So that was kind of fun to see.
Yeah, I wrote down in my notes that I love the perspective the camera takes as they chase down the speeder bikes themselves, and you can kind of see them kind of moving with the bikes. They're kind of like stepping off of the seat a little bit, and that whole shot I just thought was rich in detail.
They really do the action stuff really well in this show.
And then Greef Karga takes the gun in the back of the troop transport, and I also made the note that I love the vintage style graphics. Even with all the technology that we have nowadays in our real world, and how they can make these graphics look great. They keep it in universe, and they make it look pretty rudimentary.
Yeah, it's just the old school, the graphics. I love that. Kicking it back to the prequels, it's funny because if you pay attention, the first half of the prequels, the technology is really awesome and it's really intense. But then when you start getting into where it comes into A New Hope, the technology slowly starts getting back to that 70s feel.
The speeder bike chase, that just takes you back to Return of the Jedi, which is an awesome part of that movie. I think it's one of the highlights of Return of the Jedi. Well, I don't know, how do you pick your favorite? But that was a cool scene where the speeder bike's chasing them, and it kind of had some Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade vibe to it.
They pull a lot of vibe out of these movies, because they had a Jaws vibe and they had an Alien vibe. Now they have an Indiana Jones vibe.
And then after they take out those speeder bikes, they have like 4 TIE fighters kind of chase after them.
I like the look of those TIE fighters, man, because you could tell they'd been sitting in lava for a minute, and they weren't nice and gray. They were gritty, and they did the whole wing thing Moff Gideon's did, which you thought was maybe just exclusive to his TIE fighter, but then you realize real quick it's not. It makes a whole heck of a lot of sense that a TIE fighter does that now, because how else are you going to get inside of it?
In Rebels, they would have like platforms that you would have to walk up and then lower yourself into the cab of the ship. So This is different, but yeah, I don't know.
Maybe when there's not a whole lot of other TIE fighters around, that's what they send these out, or it's just one of those weird things where you don't have the support. This is, what you have.
Yeah, well, I watched it. I'm like, so we're going to get at some point a speeder bike we're getting that, I guess, in Black Series, but we'll get that in 3.75. We'll get the TIE fighter that has foldable wings for an action figure at some point. I watched the show, and I'm like, okay, well, what are we getting next year? Because it takes them a year to make this stuff.
Unless you're Funko, then they release it the next day.
Right. You streamline the process somehow. But yeah, that chase scene in the canyon had a lot of A New Hope feel with Canyon on the Death Star.
Here's my one issue with the whole episode.
Oh, sure. I didn't have any, so go.
As soon as he blows up that one TIE fighter, everything's going to dire, and oh my God, we're all going to die. What shows up in pristine freaking condition? The Razor Crest.
It got fixed
It got fixed, which I have no problem with it getting fixed. But
in an hour.
In an hour.
It got fixed in an hour.
It went from a shithole to being almost brand new in an hour. Now, those guys must be some pretty awesome freaking mechanics, or they had 50 people working on it, or the Mandalorian just went, it's good enough. I want to know how they fix that Razor Crest to be in that flyable in that short a time.
You said it yourself. They're expert mechanics.
Or you just go, it's Star Wars. And
It's Star Wars. At the end of the day, just turn off your brain and enjoy it.
that's what I ended up doing. But
I love the things that people suspend their disbelief for. That's the line.
just shut up. That's when you poke your brain and go, shut up, brain, and you just enjoy the Razor Crest flying, which I do definitely enjoy. Let me jump back a minute before I get into the whole thing. You could just hear how many people back to Razor Crests. 6, 7, how many? Like 22,000 people.
28.
You can hear the gasp of joy of 28,000 people at once when that Razor Crest popped out and being, pristine again.
There's some drama, keep you on the line,
Yeah.
raise the stakes. But yeah, no, the Razor Crest comes and saves the day, blows up the remaining TIE fighters. But I think the real attraction in this scene was the child eating his cookies and having his hands up and just laughing hysterically at the roller coaster ride that he's on.
That was so great because you're just, you're sitting there and you can't help but laugh, and you're like, wee.
And like a true child who doesn't know their limits, he throws up at the end.
Yeah, and then of course it took me watching this the second go round. Grief Karga asked the Mandalorian, hey, can we buy you a drink? And he's going, I've got some onboard maintenance issues I have to take care of, which I thought he was meaning the wires and stuff, but he was meaning cleaning up the child.
Oh, yes. He didn't want to say the child puked.
Yeah, watching that the second time, I thought that was kind of funny.
It was a great scene.
You forget that he's just a kid, and when he throws up, you're just like, yeah.
Of course, that's what a kid would do. That's
yeah.
What they do. They puke on you. They take off, and there's a couple interesting scenes that happen after this. We see the X-Wing pilot that we saw in the second episode, which on that ice planet. And so when I saw him return, I felt like it was more cohesive, that there was a reason why we introduced them in that second episode. They're on patrol, and they're trying to investigate to see what the Empire's up to.
I think that yet again, here's another subplot that the New Republic is trying to figure things out, because he actually says, there's something going on in the outer rims and nobody believes it, but I think that something's going on. There's something real. Right.
Which made me appreciate the second episode a little bit more.
There goes yet another subplot number 2. And then, he talks to Cara Dune about Alderaan, and you could still see she's still, heard about it.
I lost everyone is what she said.
And did you hear the story about who that guy is in real life? He is a Canadian cosplayer who's like very big in cosplay. And I don't know, I'm not sure how they found him, but he's just a Canadian cosplayer who cosplays a bunch of stuff, and he got the role on Mandalorian.
That's awesome. That's just as good as that 501st stuff.
You can get somewhere by cosplaying, kids. So do it. He does a good job for not being an actor.
He's a better job than Cara Dune.
Oh, they didn't hire her for her acting skills.
No, she's a fighter, and she's great at what she does. But she's a little wooden, I guess, maybe is what I'm trying to say. And I don't know if I really want to say that out loud because I want it to be inclusive, and I want everyone to be part of Star Wars, and I want everyone to like Star Wars, and I don't want to taint anyone's experience of it if they hear me say that and then they go watch the show and they're like, oh, he's absolutely right. Did I just ruin it for someone else?
I was listening to a podcast and they had something go back with Han Solo, and he was talking about how the famous line where I've been to one end of the universe and the other, and I've never seen something versus a blaster, that line. And it's like, he sounded extremely bored when he said that line. So.
Well, it ruined Return of the Jedi for me, because you can just tell that Harrison Ford didn't want to be there. He only had a contract for 2 movies, and so when he got frozen at the end of The Empire Strikes Back, they weren't sure what they were going to do with that character because he wasn't signed on for Return of the Jedi.
And he actually pushed for Han Solo to die and not survive the carbonite freezing.
And so when you watch Return of the Jedi with the mindset that Harrison Ford didn't really want to be there, you know, he kind of felt like he outgrown those and he wanted to do other things.
Mm-hmm.
With that light, you can see his boredom.
Oh, wow. I'll have to rewatch it with that.
Yeah, don't do that. I mean, if you've gotten away with it for this long, 35, almost 40 years, enjoying Return of the Jedi, every so often I'll remind myself of that, and especially some of the stuff on Endor, you can just see like he's just like, I'm going through the motions here.
It's a paycheck.
Yeah, unfortunately. I apologize if I've tainted this for anyone. She's my least favorite character. I think The Mandalorian with his helmet does a lot more acting and emoting than a human. I guess that's enough shade for one day.
Well, okay. So going back to that scene, what does that pilot leave on? Is that a badge? Is that a calling card? It looks like a badge more than a calling card, but what is that?
I think it's a challenge coin. They used to make challenge coins, so that's why it stuck out. It had some of the...
It had some kind of badge or something on it, like a flag or something.
Yeah, at the bottom, but I think it's a challenge coin, period.
Dude, I keep saying, man, you have got some of the best theories, and your theories have not been proven wrong yet. So,
but it doesn't make sense in the fact that you would make like 100 challenge coins, and after you work on a product or project, you would leave the challenge coin with that person. It's not like you have 100 heavy metal coins in your pocket. So, I would think he earned that at some point, and maybe it was for bravery, maybe it was for sacrifice, and he sacrificed to the rebellion. And he's leaving it to her because of her sacrifice, which she's lost because of the war, which is all of her family from Alderaan.
I just thought of something. What if that little flag or badge or whatever that was on because it was a red and white little thing. What if that he earned that for the Battle of Alderaan, so he left that for her?
Or Yavin?
Yes. No, yes. Alderaan, because he said he fought in Alderaan. Or fought at that time or something. Because when he's talking to her about, it says here, you're from Alderaan. I fought at that time or served during Alderaan.
Yes. So he was, I just took that as he was part of the rebellion during that time, but I don't think there was any battle on Alderaan that was a peaceful.
Okay. Oh, yeah, it was.
Which makes things even more interesting because that was a peaceful a planet. There was really no cause for war. So it's interesting that Cara Dune is now a tough fighter. And then we cut to a Star Destroyer with some sinister violin music playing in the background.
That's actually a Raider, dude. That's not a Star Destroyer. That's a Raider, which I'm pretty sure it's a Raider because I've been playing Squadrons like a madman. And
what's a Raider?
It's just a little ship, basically a mini Star Destroyer.
Oh, maybe like the size of the Tantum 4? Was it Tantum 4?
Basically that size ship. Moff Gideon's on it. So
right.
It may be his Star Destroyer. Sorry.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, they're doing some pretty cool stuff on there. They get the transmission that the guy that we kind of anticipated at the beginning of the episode who put the homing beacon on the Razor Crest is exactly that. He's a spy and he's reporting in and he's told them that, he's put that on the ship. And so this lady goes, it's a lady Imperial officer who said something like, you'll be rewarded in the new era. Which is obviously like they're building up to that First Order.
Yeah, I did hear on another podcast they were kind of doing a true and false for this season, and that was one of the questions. Will the First Order be mentioned in this season? So maybe that's the
yeah. I would imagine that they clone Snoke or they build Snoke, and he comes out and he's like, okay, great, now the Empire's dead. Now it's time for a new order, the First Order, something like that. Like, I think that's more of an executive order than a group of, because I think all of the lore people are going to say we're just part of the Empire and we're continuing on with the Empire. I think someone new has to come along and say, no, we are the First Order.
Okay.
That's my read.
Gotcha.
That's my speculation. But then she goes to report in with Moff Gideon, and that's a very interesting room that Moff Gideon's in.
I've heard several different theories. I thought they were Death Troopers. If they're putting the Force or Force blood into those, they would be better than Death Troopers.
Well, we don't know if that's what they're doing. So it's a row of a black armored something or other. They're not Death Troopers. But some people were saying that it's possibly Dark Troopers. I guess they started off as part clone, part machine like Darth Vader. And then as the clones got older, they replaced them with full like battle droids almost. So the Empire is making battle droids. But that's an expanded universe thing that they're folding in, if that's what this is.
And how much other expanded universe stuff have they brought into this show?
Pretty much a lot.
A lot.
The Incinerator Troopers was from The Force Unleashed, the video game.
So maybe Dave Filoni really liked that video game. Fallen Order video game, which the timeline wouldn't work because Darth Vader's in Fallen Order. Sorry if I spoiled it for you people, but that game's been out for 2 years. You should have played it by now. There's Force-sensitive troopers in there.
The Purge Troopers?
The Purge Troopers. Aren't they Force-sensitive?
I think that's what these Dark Troopers were at one point. I think there was some Dark Troopers known as Purge Troopers. Mm-hmm. I'm not full up on the lore, so I hope I'm not getting this wrong from my limited knowledge. I think that's the case, that they pulled in these Purge Troopers who were Force sensitive and can block Force pushes. But with that, they kind of just have Moff Gideon looking at these Dark Troopers. I guess that's what we'll call it because we don't know yet. And that the episode ends, and I kind of thought to myself, this is the end of what we've seen in the trailer. I don't think there was anything left from the trailers that we haven't seen. We just have 4 more episodes, kind of spoiler free. We don't know who we'll see, who's going to be in it, any of that.
I'm looking forward to it, and I hope, the next 4 will kind of be, balls to the wall action, and we're not going to get any more fill. Even though I wouldn't consider this one a filler episode because there was a lot of stuff. Maybe half of it was filler, but they did drop some knowledge on us, or more questions and answers.
Right. And I feel like Moff Gideon is an analog for Thrawn.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already used Thrawn, so they can't use him, which, oh my God, if they did, that would have been maybe my favorite part of all of Star Wars, was this Mandalorian with the Thrawn as Moff Gideon or whatever.
Dude, yeah.
But yeah, he's like very tactical. He's smart. He's always thinking 3 steps ahead. He just minus the art aspect of that character.
Them bringing back Ahsoka, that whole you're leaving yourself open for, is Thrawn going to pop up? Because don't even get me started on Thrawn showing up on this episode, on this show. Because then I really wrote, geez. That
would be just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Maybe he's in charge of the Empire now. We'll see. That's 5 years later. So yeah, what if they do find Thrawn and he's taken over in the dark regions, unknown regions? But I think the season's going to end with Moff Gideon getting the child and leaving the Mandalorian alone. And that's my prediction. I don't know if that'll actually happen, but I could see it.
I could see that happening, or I think some kind of way Ahsoka will get the child. What I'm looking forward to is Ahsoka's going to know that species. She's going to know he's the same species as Yoda. And she's either going to drop a wealth of knowledge on the Mando, or it's going to go one way or the other. And I'm hoping she's just like, oh yeah, I've seen one of these before. It's Master Yoda. And then all of a sudden, boom, then you're going into the whole Yoda post-story, backstory.
Yeah. This next episode is going to be, I'm glad I'm not working this Friday so I can watch it first thing in the morning. I'm going to wake my son up and be like, let's do this, because I'm glad I don't need to go to work and waste time. I don't should waste time, because who knows, maybe someone from work is listening. But you know what I mean? Like, I want to be there watching The Mandalorian. I don't want to be working, especially this episode.
Yeah, because the last year they did this was the ATST episode when he was in the village for the day after Thanksgiving. So,
yeah, but this is a different case. This is Ahsoka. This is legit.
Oh, dude, that would be awesome if they did that on purpose. If they did save the Ahsoka episode for the day after Thanksgiving, because knowing people will be off.
And to set expectations, there's rumors that it's just like a glorified cameo. So it might not be a full episode of Ahsoka. I think it'd be interesting because you would think she would take the child and make the child a Padawan. But then again, she's got that compassionate side, and she might say, no, this child needs to be with the family, and you need to take him because I'm on my own mission finding Ezra.
It would make sense because that's what they did with Bo-Katan, maybe, that's another thing that I wish that the guest stars would stick around a little bit more, because, they do bring in some big name actors and they're there for one episode.
Yeah, I still think Cobb's coming back.
He's got to be coming back. Because he's got to end. I think he's going to end up back on Tatooine, but just because the draw is there, it may take a season. They didn't do all that build up for Tatooine just for one episode.
Right. And that Boba Fett reveal.
Yeah.
We've got to come back to that at some point.
Especially because that armor is somewhere on the Razor Crest.
Yeah. And I want it. There was that scene where the speeder bike kind of crashed, and this was the last guy to get blown up, and the helmet starts rolling.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I'll just go over there and pick that up. It
That
doesn't need to stay there.
would have been cool. But that's what Ezra does in Rebels. He collects those helmets, and then Sabine paints them all up.
No, that's all I got.
All right, Jason, thanks for joining me today. Where can they find you on social media, my friend?
Same as always, Jason Wasolko at Instagram. And then if you go to wasolko.com, I just launched a new website. I included links for Smuggler's Galaxy on there. So depending if you're on iTunes or Spotify or Google Play, it's a quick way to find it.
Cool. You can find me on Instagram at Cajun Fett. That's also my gamer tag on PlayStation because I just upgraded that this morning. So now I can go live and play Squadrons. Hit me up. Find us smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com. Shoot us an email. Find us on Instagram, Facebook. Please like us, review us, give us some stars, all that happy crap on iTunes. And Jason, this is the way.
This is the way.